used quite literally with the proper strength and precision. The kinetic friction of the iron.
Let's say you're playing a game, TTRPG, D&D, whatever, and you walk into a town, usually a fantasy town, like whatever, I don't know, and you only have really 3 places to go. Most of the time, I feel like people pick these 3 places. There is a tavern, which is usually the number 1 pick, I say. It's a tavern. You can get drinks, food, alcohol, whatever you want. You usually sleep there and stuff like that, you know. B, you can go to a smithy, a tavern, a smithy, a blacksmith. There's different kinds of smiths. So, somebody that usually makes armor, horseshoes, weaponry. Usually you'll buy weaponry or armor from just some guy. And stuff like that. Then there is going to be then C, or 3, will be a church. Church for a god that you may not know yet. Or usually a god that we pray to. I don't know, you can play to more than. I think probably go to Smithy if you're playing a character like that, but still. Blacksmiths are a very integral part of fantasy, and I love them. I really love blacksmiths. And I just feel like, and it's just they come in so many different places. And it makes sense since they really are integrity, the integrity of most fantasy to me. Then where you're going to get your weapon and your armor from other than a blacksmith. Maybe your character is a blacksmith. They make stuff. You know, humble beginnings turning into different things, you know? Stuff like that. And I'm just pointing out that there's different ways, and take it from me, I have done blacksmithing class. I might take another one, because, like, I've made stuff like this. This is one of the first things you start off with making. You start off making an S, my dad said. He's not a blacksmith, but you just heard that. We made it, it's supposed to be for, like, chains. You just put a chain on here, and be good. And I had another thing. I made a coal poker, and I made this hook where I can hold things on. It was hard work, but it was fun. I'll tell you that, it's fun. Smiths and blacksmiths are in every fantasy, everything fantasy related, and it's always there. And to me, my favorite character will always be the smith, not as much as the hero. Well, top 3 side smiths: Hephaestus, I love him. God War, you know, he's cool. I actually never played Dark Souls, but this guy's cool. He looks cool. I like Darkest Dungeon. Look how awesome this guy looks. Alright, come on, he looks like Santa Claus. Alright, I love him. Go ahead. More so than the hero sometimes, unless it's just like a one-off blacksmith. I usually like the blacksmith more than the hero, to be honest. It's always like, you know, you have to go get mithril steel from Mount Cash or whatever. And you have to get steel, and you bring it back to the smithy, and it's like, all right, make the thing, make the MacGuffin, the sword that can kill the big bad guy. I like the guy that makes the sword. That's actually a very interesting thing. Like where you're just a blacksmith, and every once in a while a guy comes like, I got the MacGuffin material, make me the MacGuffin for like the 5th time this week. Wouldn't be bad, to be honest. That'd be a good one. So, blacksmiths are everywhere. They're really every bit as important than a wizard to me. Hell, they may be more important than a wizard. The thing is, it's always important to have them in your games and to your places. They come in very different forms as well. Even, like, like in Minecraft, is a very small thing, but it's very big. You can build your stuff back up. You can heal your items. You can put enchantments onto your items if you got a book, and things like that. You know, the noise it makes, you can fall on people. But I think, me personally, the baby, and I really think it can be literally in everywhere. And it's so funny to me when it's something like Deep Rock Galactic. I can go on about dwarves for a second here. But Deep Rock Galactic is very, very good at what they do. They are very helpful on the idea that dwarves are still smiths, even though it's like a million years in the future or whatever. And it's very interesting because, well, it's funny. It's supposed to be kind of like comedy sort of way where it's like you get. I kind of find it funny. It's just like you get like a weird floppy disk thing. You insert it into this like a side panel. You pull down a lever, and you just hit it with you hit your anvil with a hammer, and then you get a new perk or cosmetic, and that's it. And talking about that, I always notice this, and it's always one of my favorite things. I feel like it's kind of like a trope, I'd say by now, but like the smith race. I couldn't find like a crafts race, but you know it's mostly just dwarves. So I found true craftsman trope on like I think it's like trope wiki, TV tropes, and I don't know. I just want to point that out. It's usually somebody that's like really skilled at it, but it's like really down to the core about what their craft is. So yeah, go back to video. Thank you. I don't know. Or like the smith. It can usually go into two ways, in like industrial or it's always like the industrial or the like the crafter race, you know? Not that we're talking about dwarves. Dwarves are, if you think about dwarves, you think about stout, big bearded little guys, my favorite races. One of the biggest things they're ever known to be are smiths. Blacksmiths. Sometimes like what could be kind of like goldsmiths and silversmiths and even probably like whitesmiths. There's different kinds of smiths also. Like it's kind of interesting. It's interesting. But you know, we're talking about smithing, mostly blacksmithing, because that's what people usually think of. But dwarves are like the biggest race, biggest point of this. It's the biggest, like, if you like look in the fantasy setting, you got the elves. There are like 30 different kinds of them. You have the orcs. Then you have dwarf. Up in there, stone mountains, masons, and most importantly, smiths. They make just about anything, really. They make armor, and they're usually the best at making armor and weaponry. Some people would be like, oh, elves. In this my world, elves are the best, or orcs. But I think, personally, I would rather have a dwarven maiden thing than really anything else. And I love dwarves. I'm a dwarf in training, as you can see. I shaved, so I'm not something. But still, they're invaluable, and they're always a really nice thing to see. And they can be put into doing many different things, really. They can even be in the future. Well, in the future, they're more seen as, like, industrious mechanics. But they're still blacksmithing, or they can see as, like, technicians, really. It's like how different how it's kind of like it's a trope of the crafter and how many different times they're put into different things. And really, blacksmithing it's a really nice art that makes very different things. It's like a welder. But something it's a really nice it's a symbol. It's a very nice symbol to me. It's really symbolic. Sometimes it's usually, I don't know. It's sometimes usually symbolic of just humans' creativity, how we made so much stuff, how we're strong, and we made all these things with our creativity and who we are. Sometimes it can be, you know, I can make one right now. And it's like somebody can make this into like one of their characters or something, you know, book, movie, or fuck. You can say that we all start out as just steel. We all start out as steel. Cold steel. Not malleable at all. And we're just there. Life will heat us up with different things, different obstacles, many different things over the time. You know, heartbreak, tragedy, happiness, things we love as also is a way to heat us up. And we'll be melded. We'll be melded by the hammer of ourselves to be who we are. But, take this from me, I don't have it on me, but I remember I did melt one of my things like Smiths. And you could say that if too many things, say too many bad things, too many things of the fire, too much heat put upon us, we will melt under it. It will not make us as great as we are. It can even crack us in half. It can change who we are for the worse. Not make us into nice things like this. Into what we are, into our role, into who we are. But if it will be very much something helpful. It makes you who you are with the Smith. And you can probably make a lot of symbol in between it. And that's just one I just made up right now. It's usually just different ways. And it's not even Western culture. It can be Eastern. Because, you know, it's kind of like I don't really know much about Eastern culture, to be honest. Like, I know like a little bit. I read a few stories, but it's more of me just reading them. But it's also like swordsmiths, or even in Eastern, like swordsmiths and like Japan were really highly regarded, from what I see. It's even, and it's kind of funny. Even one of like the biggest names, like I'm John Smith. Like Stan Smith, American Dad. Now it's Smith is, you know, somebody was a Smith in their past, and now the last name is Smith. The first name, because somebody was just like, I'm gonna name my kid Smith. It's like the most common name, other than like Michael or something, but you know, so. And it's always so fun to me for seeing like different kinds of Smiths in like fantasy and fiction. Well, they're usually stout men with big bushy beards, sometimes balding, like Hephaestus. It's stuff like that. Or it can be, I heard this one before. I heard like the trope is called like wench. It's just a chick that knows how to do mechanics, spiffing, you know, stuff like that. She's a chick, which is cool. And even it's like, even like people like sometimes make just like, I'm just a kid and I'm a smith, but usually they get some, you have to get some strength to do that. You know, they hurt. It made my arms sore. I couldn't move my arms after it. And even like the hammer's real devastating. It like even Warhammer, a Warhammer can really go, you know, and yeah, you're done. Even weaponsmith, like usually fantasy weaponsmiths will know how to use their weapons, which I think is a good thing. I think it makes sense. So yeah, it can go from, and it's funny to me how big it is in every place you go to in fantasy. You can be a regular smith just vibing, making horseshoes, hoes for the farmers. Or you can be like a dwarf in the mountain, dwarving magical armor, making magical plate that nothing can penetrate. Even like in like mythology, like smith gods are very interesting to me. I love smith. I like one of my favorite Greek god is Hephaestus. I'd say if I like was a demigod or something, I would be a Hephaestus kid, so I can make stuff. The fire, the flames, it's always great. And it's nice to me. And it's always, it's interesting. In every, like, fantasy world where it's usually, like, a Zeus, like, Greek fantasy thing, fantasy, like, god, I forgot the name of it, like, Patronite? No. It's just like, there's like different gods. There's like god of the skies, god of the seas, god of the forge. They'll always be in there.
Hey, yeah, I just remembered it. This is Elder Big M. So, yeah, I just remembered it's Pantheon. Pantheon. It's like pants, but they're on. And I know, I just forgot during the clip, so yeah, thanks. Thank you.
They may be very interesting. I think if I were to make a god, new D&D world right here, you know, the first person to make it would be a forger. He wouldn't be a forger. He'd be like a crafter, I think. And that's another way to show blacksmithing in different ways, in symbolism. It's always there, and it's fascinating. I always love seeing blacksmiths in anything, in games. It can go from just smithing 100 daggers to not smithing at all. You're making 100 daggers, starting up your smithing, to just literally just putting in a floppy disk, and just go ding ding ding. There you go. I love blacksmiths. I love smithing in general. I just wanted to make this video. It's my first big video. It's not really a big. I'm gonna do a little bit. I'm trying to do a little bit more. It's mostly just me talking. It's more of a discussion for myself and me just saying, I love blacksmiths, man. I love smiths. I love crafters. And I just wanted to tell y'all how important they are in any fantasy. And even like in modern things, even sci-fi. Warhammer. Salamanders, they're forgers too. Well, they're all about fire and fire. It's a mixture of fire and earth. If you're like an Avatar kid or whatever, I love Avatar too. I just find it interesting the different ways people make this. I just want to go out there and just say it. I love it. If you want to make a smith in something, be a TTRPG, a video game, maybe write a little book, a little thing for yourself. I bet anybody watching this would like actually do something like that. Unless you are, then you're doing a good job. Yeah, damn. It's just perfect for me. Men, women, something in the middle. People in the middle. You know, it's just, I want to tell y'all, if you're gonna do anything, remember the smiths. Remember the people that made your armor, made everything, heated the steel, and then made it all for you. Thank you for watching. And my name is Mr. Big M. I like moose. Seen right here. And remember, don't forget about the blacksmith or the craftsman.